Cecilia.
Thanks, Sarah. Yesterday, the president said that he felt very badly for General Flynn. Would he consider pardoning him?
I'm not aware of that has come up or any process or decision on that front.
So that's, you haven't talked to him about it, or
No, I haven't
he's-
asked.
he
I
would consider it?
haven't asked the president whether or not he would do that.
You have not.
Can you
I
clear
think
up-
before we start discussing the pardons for individuals, we should see, what happens in specific cases too.
So is it fair to say it's on the table?
No, I just said I haven't had the conversation with him because I don't feel that it's necessary until, you get further down the road and determine whether or not that's even something needed. Hallie?
Two quick ones for you, and just as a statement of fact, when did the president know that Mike Flynn lied to the FBI?
As I said earlier, I referred you back to John Dowd's clarification, and I would.
I'm asking for a date. When did he find out? Was it when the announcement was made Friday? Was it prior to that?
Again, I'm not aware of those specifics, but I would refer you to John Dowd for that specific question.
Dowd has been
I would actually
unresponsive to
refer
that.
you to John Dowd on that specific question, since it's a
second
legal
question, too,
matter.
but I just wanna
I'm not
make a-
allowed to weigh into.
No problem. The point to you have weighed in on other special counsel matters before, and it's just a statement of fact of when, during the administration, what day the president discovered this lie issue.
And I'm telling you as a statement of fact that you should contact John Dowd. Doesn't seem that hard, Stephen.
Questions on Roy Moore. Sarah, you said just a minute ago that the president would want somebody in the Senate who supports his agenda versus one who does not. Excuse me, and I just want to clarify here then, is it the White House's position then, sort of formally here, that it is worse to have a Democrat in that Senate seat than somebody who is accused of sexually abusing a teen girl?
Look, as I said, we find the allegations to be troubling.
And why did the president endorse?
Look, I think that those are different things in terms of we aren't going to be the ones to determine that process. That's for the people of Alabama to determine what those things come down on. He does want people that support his agenda. He's not going to obviously support a Democrat. And I think if that's our standard, then we need to look at a number of members of Congress that have had allegations brought against them that are still in office. Stephen.
Thanks, Sarah. I do want to nail something down with respect to John Dowd and what he's been telling us in the last couple of days. He's argued that the president cannot be charged with obstruction of justice because he is the chief law enforcement officer in the country. That's his opinion. Does the White House share that opinion? Has the White House counsel's office looked into this question? Does it share that perspective?
Look, I'm not going to get into a back and forth on legal theories, but I can tell you, as the president has said, there's no collusion, there's no obstruction, and that we're confident that the facts will show that when this is wrapped up.
What do you
Jim?
think of the whole notion of obstruction of justice, though? I mean, it's been discussed in the last couple of days. A lot of people have been talking about it. What do you think about it?
I'm not an attorney, and as far as I know, only John Decker in the room is. And so, if you want to ask him legal questions, you certainly can. I don't know if he'll answer them, but that's as far as I'm going to go on that. Jim.
I'm not an attorney either. Let me ask you about.
I know, that's why I didn't call you out.
Thank you, I appreciate that. This decision on Jerusalem, is the president concerned that there could be violence as a result of recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel? Has that been looked at by this White House?
A number of things have been looked at that have been weighed into the president's decision, but as I said a few minutes ago, I'm not going to get ahead of his remarks, and we'll be certainly happy to address those at a later time.
On Roy Moore, just very quickly, the folks got a couple of questions. Isn't there a moral decision that you're making here? And I'm sure you've heard this talked about in the news the last couple of days as the president has decided to endorse Roy Moore. This is somebody who has been accused of child abuse, of molesting children. How can that vote in the Senate be that important that you would take a gamble on somebody who has been accused of molesting kids?
I think that's something,
of harming
as I've
somebody
said,
who's underage.
As I've said, that's something for the people of Alabama to decide, and that's up for them.
Wrestled with in any way? Has he wrestled with that question?
As I said, we find the allegations very troubling, and again, this is up to the people of Alabama to make that decision. I'm not a voter in Alabama and can't make that decision. April.
Sarah, a couple of questions. One, there are comments from people from the NAACP, from black ministers who are planning on protesting and boycotting this weekend for the president's visit to the Civil Rights Museum. What say you?
I think that would be honestly very sad. I think this is something that should bring the country together to celebrate the opening of this museum and highlighting civil rights movement and the progress that we've made. And I would hope that those individuals would join in that celebration instead of protesting it. However, they have every right to protest it. Jordan?
It's an insult that he's coming as we've had issues of Charlottesville, the back and forth. The president couldn't get his statement straight on Charlottesville.
I think he got his statement very clear when he condemned all forms of racism, bigotry, and violence. There's no gray area there, and I think he made it very clear what his position is. Jordan?
I have a follow-up. So your predecessor said on June 6th, it's the President of the United States, so they're considered official statements by the President of the United States in regards to his tweet. In regards to his tweets, does that standard still apply to the President's tweets?
It does, and I know that you're probably referencing the tweet that was written by the president's attorney, and he's since clarified that, and I would refer you back to the attorney's clarification on that. Matthew?
Thanks, Sarah. The White House originally said that if the accusations against Roy Moore were true, then Moore should step aside. I'm wondering how the president reached the conclusion that all of Moore's accusers, including those who have put forward evidence, are lying.
Didn't say they were lying. The president's position hasn't changed, still finds those concerning. But as we've also said, the president feels that he would rather have a person that supports his agenda versus somebody who opposes his agenda every step of the way. And until the rest of that process plays out, you have a choice between two individuals, and the president's chosen to support Moore.
Even if that person who would support his agenda has done what Roy Moore's accusers have said he's done?
Again, we've said that the allegations are concerning, and if true, he should step aside, but we don't have a way to validate that, and that's something for the people of Alabama to decide, which we've also said, and we maintain that, and ultimately it will come down to the people of Alabama to make that decision. Brian?
Just to follow up on one more a bit. Are you saying that, you're saying let the people decide, but this administration has endorsed Roy Moore? Why endorse him if you want the people to decide? You're influencing the decision by endorsing him. And secondly, are you saying that no matter who runs as a member of the GOP, it's okay as long as you are in lockstep with the president and vote the way he wants?
Once again, I'm not going to get into every person that could or couldn't run for office down the line. Hold on, I'm going to finish answering the question if you'll allow me to. I'm not going to address, you asked, the end of your question was every person that runs for office. One, I'm not going to weigh into because I don't know who may run for office. But what I can say, the president made that decision, and he decided that it was better to have somebody that supports his agenda than a Democrat that doesn't. Again, it's still up to the people of Alabama to decide. They're ultimately the only ones that can vote in that election. See what happens. Major?
Sarah, one issue that you may have seen this morning is the White House or the President at any level considering creating a global or regional spy network that would circumvent the U.S. intelligence apparatus and serve the President outside of the normal and legally defined intelligence gathering mechanisms?
I'm not aware of any plans for something of that definition or anything similar to that at this time.
The President would be opposed to that.
I haven't had that conversation with him, but I'm not aware of any plans for anything like that moving forward.
Your official has been briefed on that idea or has been discussed at any level in this administration?
I haven't done a full survey of every member of the administration, but I can tell you as of right now, that's not something that's currently being planned and not something that I'm aware is moving forward in any capacity. Again, I'm not going to answer every hypothetical for every single member. Did some random person off the street come in and say something?
The
I don't
President
know,
might consider.
Major.
Is
I'm
it something
sorry?
the President might consider?
Again, I haven't asked him, but it's not something that's currently in the works. Blake?
Sarah, thank you. Let me ask you two questions on so-called red lines. If Robert Mueller ends up looking into the president's finances, or if he has already looked into the president's finances, does this White House believe that is a red line, and if so, why?
Look, I think it's important to note And hopefully you guys have seen the statement that Jay Sekulow, a member of the president's legal team, has put out within the last hour, that they confirmed that the news reports that the special counsel had subpoenaed financial records relating to the president are completely false. No subpoena has been issued or received. We've confirmed this with the bank and other sources. I think that this is another example of the media going too far too fast, and we don't see it going in that direction.
Let me ask you the second red line. This White House has consistently said there are 2 red lines on tax reform, middle class relief, and then a 20% corporate rate. But the president over the weekend seemed to suggest that he would be amenable for a corporate rate up to 22%. Why would he be willing to step over his own red line on that issue?
Look, the president said I guess maybe a couple of hours ago that we're firm and we feel strongly about the 20%, and we're very excited about the progress we've made on that front, and think that we'll get there on both sides in the House and the Senate. Last question, Dave.
Thanks, Sarah. The administration reported today that illegal border crossings have dropped to a 45-year low. Does that lessen the urgency as we're getting down to spending decisions here about whether to go forward with building the wall in this budget?
I think it shows probably the effectiveness of the Trump presidency, and another success story as we wrap up the year, and certainly something that could be looked at. But I think the need for the border wall and border security, as well as responsible immigration reform, still stands, and we still need to look at all the ways that we can protect our national security, and we still feel strongly that that's one of them. Thanks so much, guys.